I believe the precursor to the Antichrist is effectively World War III. Hey folks, everything new under the sun. I'm looking at the timeline of the return of the Lord, and this is my speculation on the timeline, and as I've always said, these events may change. I don't know when the Lord will return. I don't know when the rapture is. Chapter and verse, as they say, or a date and time. I do know that the time is near. I think we should start looking up, for our redemption is drawing nigh. And the Bible does speak about times in the last days and what it will be like with war, famine, economic collapse. And we talk about the Antichrist and the mark of the beast that he implements. And he doesn't implement the mark of the beast system for no reason. He doesn't come to create peace for no reason. He comes because the economy is destroyed. He comes because there is no peace, and the world is calling for a leader to save them and to create peace. Well, looking at the article for today, this is zerohedge.com. World is walking into World War III with eyes wide open. And this is it. World War III is all over the internet, all over the news, Ukraine, Russia. And it's odd. It's everywhere. But no one sees it. No one recognizes what is to come. It's almost really no different than maybe the precursor to World War II, where it was in the newspapers that things were happening, but no one really thought that World War II would start until their young men were conscripted to join the military and started getting on ships. I think people like and enjoy the normalcy bias. I think this is the situation they're stuck in all the time. And everything is going to be awesome until the day that it's not awesome anymore. Everything's going to be the same until the day that it's not the same anymore. Kind of like the switching of time between the days before 9/11. Remember that? No security checks to go through airports. And then the day after 9/11, where all of a sudden we had to take off our shoes and our belt buckles and put everything into plastic boxes for security purposes. It's like a light turning on and off. And this is what I think is going to come with World War III. So Antonio Guterres, he is the Secretary General for United Nations. He says the prospects of peace keep diminishing. The chances of further escalation and bloodshed keep growing. He says, I fear the world is not sleepwalking into a wider war. I fear it is doing so with its eyes wide open. So it is not sleepwalking into a wider war. It's doing it knowingly with eyes wide open. All cameras, all internet. You go to warnews247.gr and there's all sorts of news of the war and the fighting that's happening. But everybody in the West thinks this can't happen to them. This isn't happening to them. Life goes on. Business goes on. People keep getting married. People keep building and planting, sowing and reaping, and nobody sees what's happening. There's no importance really to people. There's no urgency for people to contact their members of parliament and their government officials about this, to say that we need to stop war. They think if we send enough weapons across the water, we can solve the situation. I don't think that's the case. So, folks, as I understand it, World War III effectively, along with economic collapse, along with famine, they're all part and parcel of each other. I believe that these things are the precursor to the appearance of the Antichrist. Indeed, people will not be calling for a world leader to help solve all their problems until there are problems across the world for all people. The civilian populations of the world will not be desperate enough to accept a one world government, a one world leader, and get rid of all their sovereignty and their U.S. dollars, Canadian dollars, British pounds. There will be no interest to get rid of all those things unless they're in a desperate state of World War III, famine, and complete economic collapse. And that's why I believe it's a precursor to the Antichrist. The Antichrist will show up at the time when everybody is ready to accept him. This is what you need to be looking for. I believe that when we do go into World War III, that will effectively allow for people to decide, okay, now we need a savior. That's what the world's looking for. They need a savior, and they will see this leader, this Antichrist figure, as the savior of the world. They won't accept Jesus Christ, similar to the Jews in the last days. They won't accept Jesus Christ first. They will accept the Antichrist first. And the world does exactly the same. They don't want Jesus. They want a human savior, a human star to save them, superhero. And they will accept the Antichrist when things are at their worst. So if I was looking for a key indicator and something that had to happen before the Antichrist came, I would think World War III, economic collapse, and famine. I'll leave it there, guys. Something to think about. We'll see you in the next video.